Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Listen, if you're a focused learner looking to totally master the art of navigating global environments, you're in the exact right place. Today, we're setting the stage for a highly structured, super energetic dive into the invisible barriers of cross-cultural communication. We're going to take these core communication concepts and just break them right down, moving from those hidden friction points that constantly trip us up, all the way to the graceful resolutions that bring us back together. So let's kick things off with a pretty massive question. Why do we misunderstand each other even when we speak the exact same language? It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? I mean, you could have two people perfectly fluent in English sitting right across from each other, and yet they completely miss the mark. Picture this. You tell a colleague a project is going to be quite difficult. To you, that means, hey, it's a fun challenge. But to them, it translates as a polite warning that the project is doomed to fail. Beyond the country you're from and well beyond the literal vocabulary you use, our distinct cultural backgrounds weave these incredibly complex, unseen layers into every single interaction. We aren't just communicating with words, you guys. We're communicating with our entire cultural history. All right, so here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, cross-cultural communication differences. Then, expression and tone. Next, body language and time. After that, understanding authority. And finally, resolving misunderstanding. Let's dive right into Section 1, Cross-Cultural Communication Differences, the Invisible Barriers. To effectively solve communication gaps, whether that's in a classroom or a corporate boardroom, we have to first map out exactly where they happen. You can't fix a machine if you don't know which gears are grinding, right? And well, there are 5 key friction points that act as those invisible gears grinding our communication to an absolute halt. We're looking at direct versus indirect expression, tone, body language, the concept of time, and the understanding of supervisor authority. Just imagine trying to navigate a simple project update or a study group session. Literally any one of these 5 variables can entirely derail the conversation. Honestly, when you put all 5 together, it's a wonder we ever managed to understand each other at all. Moving right along to Section 2, Expression and Tone, Words and Delivery. Let's start with the actual literal words we choose to construct our thoughts. In direct cultures, good communication is clear. It's explicit. It's straightforward. You say exactly what you mean, and you mean exactly what you say. A no is just a blunt no. But hop over to an indirect culture, and communication becomes highly nuanced. It relies super heavily on context, and the true message is implied rather than just stated out outright. In an indirect culture, a no might be politely masked as, that's a very interesting idea. Now, just imagine a direct communicator asking for feedback from an indirect communicator. The direct person is sitting there waiting for a simple yes or no, while the other is politely providing the answer between the lines. It is an absolute textbook recipe for an immediate misunderstanding. And even if you manage to crack the code on direct versus indirect words, you run right into tone. Tone is basically the unspoken melody of our words. The exact same sentence, literally the exact same vocabulary, can mean something entirely different depending on the cultural inflection used. Take a simple word like fine. If I say fine with a bright, upbeat pitch, it means everything is great, we're good to go. But if I drop my pitch and just give a clipped, flat, fine, well, it suddenly means the exact opposite, and you're probably in trouble. A tone that signifies passion and engagement in one culture might be interpreted as wildly aggressive or dismissive in another. It's a massive differentiator in cross-cultural communication that we absolutely have to consciously monitor. Which brings us to Section 3, Body Language and Time, Unspoken Signals. Think about this for a quick second. What happens when we aren't speaking at all? Communication doesn't just stop the second our mouths close. In fact, some of the absolute loudest messages we send are completely unspoken. Body language consists of these nonverbal physical cues that carry vastly different meanings across distinct cultures. It literally acts as a silent vocabulary. Eye contact, hand gestures, posture, personal space, all of these physical cues are deeply programmed into us by our cultural background. Maintaining intense eye contact might show immense respect and attentiveness in one country, but it could easily be seen as a glaring sign of disrespect or defiance in another. If you aren't aware of this invisible dictionary of physical cues, friction is, well, it's absolutely guaranteed. Now ask yourself this. Is being on time a strict rule, or is it more of a loose suggestion? To some folks, a meeting set for 2 p.m. means you are in your seat, your notebook is open, and you are ready to go at 1:55 p.m. Time is rigid, it's linear, and time is money. But to others, 2 p.m. is a general window. It's a loose suggestion where relationships and just the general flow of the day take absolute precedence over a ticking clock. When these two worldviews collide in a classroom or an office, the punctuality police end up incredibly frustrated because they feel disrespected, while the flexible schedulers end up feeling totally micromanaged and stressed out. All right, Section 4, Understanding Authority, Power Dynamics. Whether you're a student interacting with a professor or a professional reporting to a manager, hierarchy is heavily dictated by culture. Our cultural background deeply influences our understanding of a supervisor's authority. In some environments, the hierarchy is totally flat. Supervisors are basically seen as equals or facilitators, and openly challenging their ideas in a meeting isn't just accepted, it's actively encouraged. But in other cultures, the hierarchy is steep and sacred. A supervisor or teacher commands absolute deference, and questioning them openly, that is a severe breach of etiquette. If you don't understand the lens through which your peer views authority, you might accidentally view them as painfully passive for never speaking up, or, on the flip side, wildly insubordinate for daring to challenge the boss. If you don't understand the lens through which your peer views authority, okay, Section 5, Resolving Misunderstandings, the Path to Resolution. So we've spent some time mapping out the minefield, right? Now let's enthusiastically shift over to the solution. The ultimate goal of this explainer is to empower you with a really clear framework for when things inevitably go wrong. Because let's be real, they will go wrong, and that is totally okay. It's how we resolve it that matters. Here is a brilliantly simple 3-step methodology to navigate breakdowns and move from a place of sheer confusion to absolute empowerment. Step 1, cultivate respect. Step 2, confirm information. And Step 3, recommunicate. Let's quickly break down each step so you can start applying this immediately. It all starts with cultivating respect as your foundational mindset. This is a universal truth of communication, and honestly, the absolute prerequisite for any kind of progress. Before you can even attempt to fix a breakdown, you have to adopt a mindset of humility. You've got to assume positive intent and respect that the other person's cultural operating system is just as valid as yours, even if it feels completely alien or incredibly frustrating to you in that specific moment. Empathy is the baseline here. Once that respect is established, you hit a fork in the road. When encountering a misunderstanding, our default human reaction is so often to fall straight into confusion and frustration. We shut down, we get angry, or we just make wild assumptions. But the crucial pivot here is to actively confirm information. Instead of just stewing in passive frustration, you have to actively ask questions. You seek clarity. You literally just say, hey, when you said X, did you actually mean Y? Or I just want to make sure I fully understand your expectations here. Verifying facts and intentions before reacting, that is the secret weapon of genuinely great global communicators. Finally, armed with this newly confirmed information, it's time to recommunicate. You try again. You adapt your expression, maybe you adjust your tone, or you totally recalibrate your expectations regarding time or authority, and you deliver your message with a brand new strategy. This is the final action needed to successfully navigate diverse environments. It bridges the gap. It takes a potential conflict and completely transforms it into a moment of genuine connection and learning. All right, we've covered a lot of ground. We've walked through the hidden barriers of expression, tone, body language, time, and authority, and we've mapped out a really clear path to resolution by respecting cultures, confirming information, and recommunicating. So let me leave you with this. How will you handle your very next cultural misunderstanding? Because trust me, it will happen. But the next time it does, you're going to be able to see those invisible barriers, and you will have the exact tools needed to break them down. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. Stay curious, stay observant, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.